Pancasila, or the 5 pillars of our state.
One man, only one.
Second, nationalism.
In the whole world of Islam,
Third,
only one.
internationalism.
And
Fourth,
Ahmad
democracy.
Sukarno, who today is forgotten,
Finally,
even by his own
Sila,
people.
the ultimate pillar, essential
He was
justice.
so
In common with the vast
against
majority of this
this
organization, I
that he
hate
took
imperialism. I
Indonesia
detest
out
colonialism.
of the IMF. And he took Indonesia out of the United Nations.
And I fear the
And there are
consequences of their
Muslims
last
today
bitter struggle for life.
who are
But we are
so,
determined that
to
our
use a
nation
polite
and the
word,
world as a whole
ignorant,
shall not be the
that
plaything
they would
of one
criticize
small
Ahmad
corner
Sukarno
of the world.
for taking
We do not seek
Indonesia
to
out of
defend
the
the world
UN
we know.
and out
We
of the
seek to
IMF.
build a new,
But Imran
a new,
Hosein says this
a
is the
better
one
world.
leader that the world of Islam could be proud about. The Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam is talking with his companion Mu'adz bin Jabal radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And the hadith is recorded in the Sunan of Abu Daud. And he says, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, Umranu Baitul Maqdis kharabu Yathrib. Kharabu Yathrib khurujul malhamah. Khurujul malhamah Fathul Constantiniya. Fathul Constantiniya Khurujul Dajjal. And then he placed his hand on the knee of Mu'adz bin Jabal and he said, "This is as true as I am touching you, O kama qala." Desolation going down. This one going up, that one going down. When that happens, then the next great event that will take place in the world would be the Malhamah. Malhamah is what the Christians refer to as Armageddon. The great war, the big war, the war of all wars. Now, we therefore begin with Jerusalem, and we have to look to see Jerusalem rising. The Jews had been expelled. Jews come back to reclaim Jerusalem as their own. It's rising, isn't it? It's rising. Stage 3, a state of Israel is restored in the Holy Land. It's rising. And now, the rest of us know that Israel controls the United States Congress. And any American president that steps out of line, like John F. Kennedy, you know what happens to them. Respond, don't you? You know how they respond, don't you? So this is evidence that Jerusalem is not only rising and ascending, it's way up. How much further must it go up? Must Israel replace the United States as the next ruling state in the world? Must Pax Judaica replace Pax Americana, as Pax Americana had replaced Pax Britannica? Before the stage is set, we know that Medina is in ruins today. We don't have to wait for ISIS, the bogus outfit created by the CIA and the Israeli Mossad, and financed and armed by Karna Shaitan, because that's how the Prophet ﷺ referred to the leaders of Saudi Arabia, Karna Shaitan. And I say to them, as you should also say to them, you can kill a man, but you cannot kill the truth. So we must speak fearlessly and put our trust with Allah. Medina is in ruins. We don't have to wait for ISIS to take over Damascus and then to march down to Medina to destroy it. How much longer do we have to wait? We know that when the al-Malhamah takes place, or Armageddon, that is going to be a war like no other war has ever been. And in a short while, we will know who are those who will fight in this war. And we will also know that it's going to be nuclear war. Oh yeah. Birds flying in the sky will fall down when the Malhamah takes place. Because perhaps you can no longer navigate. There is too much contamination in the atmosphere, or should I use the word radiation, which is consistent with nuclear explosions. The companions of the Prophet ﷺ were sitting talking amongst themselves, hadith of Sahih Muslim, when he came and he asked, "What are you talking about?" And they said, "We are talking about alamatu sa'a, the signs of the last day." One of the major signs of the last day, and you know that there are 10, the 10 are not given in the order in which they will occur. It's a big English word, the chronological order in which they will occur. Which one comes first? which second, which we don't have that. What are the 10? Number 1, Dajjal. Number 2, Gog and Magog. Number 3, the return of the son of Mary, Nabi Isa alayhi salam. Number 4, Dukhan, smoke. And the Quran says that one day it's going to be plainly visible in the sky. Number 5, Dabbatul Ard, a creature or beast of the land. Which land? Which land? I say the Holy Land, Al-Ard al-Muqaddasa. Number 6, that the sun would rise from the west. Number 7, 8 and 9, 3 earthquakes in which the earth will sink down and swallow what it swallows. One in the east, one in the west, and the third one in Arabia. And number 10, that a fire will come out of Yemen. And this is not the fire that you use to cook, as a symbolic language, and drive people to their place of assembly for judgment. So of these 10, I want to turn to the smoke. A nuclear war would be one in which nuclear powers will use every single nuclear weapon that they possibly can use, because it's going to be a fight to the finish. And so the world can now expect that if a nuclear war were to take place, excuse me, too late now to say if, rather it should be when the nuclear war takes place. When the nuclear war takes place, because they've already declared war on Russia. If you're living in France and Britain and in Western Europe, and if you don't know that your leaders have declared war on Russia, and the nuclear war is now inevitable, and when that nuclear war takes place, that thousands of nuclear weapons will explode. If you don't know that, then you are living in dreamland. And if you hope to survive in Western Europe, you're also living in dreamland. When it does take place, then I want to suggest to you tonight that the mushroom clouds which come from nuclear explosions, which will probably blot out sunlight, so that there will be no sunlight in the world. For how long, I don't know. The Christians speak of 3 days and 3 nights of no sunlight, but there's a hadith which speaks of 40. I want to suggest to you tonight, for you to think about it, that when the Prophet ﷺ spoke about smoke, dukhan, as one of the signs of the last day, that he was referring to the mushroom clouds which will come from nuclear war, the al-Malhamah. And we do have an answer as to how much time is left and how will we know when the Malhamah will take place. I want to take you now tonight to the hadith which is in Sahih Bukhari, in which the Prophet said, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam that the river, Sungai river, the river Euphrates, Furat, which is in Iraq, the river Euphrates will uncover a mountain of gold. A mountain of gold from underneath the river. A mountain of gold. And people will fight over that gold. And 99 out of every 100 would be killed, indicating that this would not be conventional warfare. No. This has to be nuclear warfare for 99 out of every 100 combatants to be killed. And therefore, we would be on fairly good foundations if we were to suggest that the Malhamah would be fought for the mountain of gold. Those who will fight for the mountain of gold will all be saying, I will be the one who will survive. But the Prophet said that the Muslims who are present at that time should not touch the gold. Should not touch the gold. So if we obey the Prophet ﷺ, the implication would be Muslims would not be involved in fighting in the Malhamah. The Malhamah will involve others who are not Muslims, or those Muslims who disobey the Prophet ﷺ. They will be part of the Malhamah. So, that a mountain of gold will come out from underneath the river. Those of you who want to have tafsir, you can wait for a long time. That one day somebody will be there with a pan and they will find a nugget of gold, and that will be the sign that the mountain of gold is going to come out now from underneath the river. That's the tafsir. There are hadiths which are given in the form of mutashabihat, and they have to be subjected to ta'wil. So the flying donkey, we know the flying donkey is here. It's the modern aircraft. And the fight for that mountain of gold is about to take place. And that's the Malhamah. We say that it is an ocean of oil underneath the river, which one day is destined to function as gold. And that already happened. If you study the world of money, it will tell you something about how this money that we now use came into being. Where did this paper come from as money? When paper money first came into being, when the Bank of England was established, 17th century, it came into being in the form of a check, or at that time it was called a promissory note check. So I write a check, you can go and cash it. Provided that you can cash the check, no problem with the check. But if I'm writing checks and I don't have money in my account, I went to the showroom, saw a BMW, motor car, wrote a check, took the BMW, I drove out. When I went to cash the check, no money in the account. That's called fraud. You go to jail for that. So at the beginning, paper money were like checks. The problem was that the bank that was issuing the paper would sometimes issue more checks than they had cash. Cheating. And hoping and pray that everybody would not come to cash the check at the same time. So if someone comes to cash the check, they don't have the money, they will say the machine not working or so, can you come back? Yeah? So the bank would not burst. But sometimes it doesn't work and the whole thing collapses. That's what happened with the Bank of England. That happened in France, it happened many places. It's also called a Ponzi scheme. The Zionist Jews and the Zionist Christians, when they won the First and Second World Wars, they decided they wanted to create a new monetary system of money that they will control. And paper money came into being as universal money. Made a law that it is illegal to use gold as money. Well, Allah made it halal, but they made it haram, which is shirk. If Allah makes something halal and you make it haram, you commit shirk. And if I follow you in it, I am a word system. And they agreed that in order to have it's called a fig leaf to hide the shame, they will take one paper money, only one, and you could cash it for gold. It's called redeeming in gold. And because they wanted the United States to become the new ruling state in the world, replacing Britain, they chose the US dollar. So at Bretton Woods in 1944, the United States formally replaced Britain, and Pax America formally replaced Pax Americana. When the US dollar was chosen, that only this paper could be cashed. And the rate was 35 US dollars. When you cash it, you get 1 ounce of gold. But that was only a fig leaf. The rest of the world of paper money was only paper. You could convert it to US dollars. So when you ask, what is the value of the Malaysian ringgit? No one will say, well, the Malaysian ringgit is worth so many Pakistani rupees. Huh? Or the Malaysian ringgit is worth so many Bangladeshi taka. No! Malaysian ringgit is worth so many US dollars. Huh? Because all the rest of the paper money in the world must now make sajda before the US dollar. Good. The problem was that the law permitted you, if you were a central bank, the law permitted you to take the US dollars and ask the American government to give me the gold. The law permitted it. And only one leader in the world, and he wasn't Muslim, General Charles de Gaulle. He was not at all happy with an unjust monetary system which gave an unfair advantage to the United States over France. Charles de Gaulle was not so much concerned about the fact that you could take paper and make money. What he was concerned about was this was advantageous to the United States and disadvantageous to France. So he decided to sabotage the system. So he kept on giving the United States dollars and demanding the gold. Nobody has dared to do that. Nobody has dared to do that. Because you know, United States has a big stick. But Charles de Gaulle kept on doing it until they removed him from power, the Zionists. He stood up in the French National Assembly and gave a powerful address condemning this monetary system. No Muslim leader ever did that. But we have to pause to give tribute to one man. The world has forgotten him, Ahmad Sukarno. One man, only one, in the whole world of Islam, only one. And Ahmad Sukarno, who today is forgotten even by his own people. He was so against this monetary system that he took Indonesia out of the IMF. And he took Indonesia out of the United Nations. And there are Muslims today who are so, to use a polite word, ignorant, that they would criticize Ahmad Sukarno for taking Indonesia out of the UN and out of the IMF. But Imron Hosein says this is the one leader that the world of Islam could be proud about. Finally, in September 1971, after Charles de Gaulle had been removed, the French government again went to the United States with US dollars and demanded the gold. But now the United States realized that the game was up. They had printed too much paper and they didn't have the gold. Normally you should send the United States to jail. But who can do that? Huh? So what? That we would redeem US dollars for gold. But we don't have to keep our word. We're not going to do it anymore. So now, no currency, no paper in the world, none, can be cashed. You just write checks and that will be your money. Who could write the most checks? Will have the most money. Huh? So get a checkbook and start writing checks. The problem is, if you have an American checkbook or a French checkbook or a German checkbook or an Australian checkbook or a Singaporean checkbook, you could write checks. They call it hard currency. But if you have a Bangladeshi checkbook or Pakistani checkbook, you can write as many checks as you want. You cannot even buy a cup of coffee in Manhattan. See? So now you have a bogus monetary system which gives to the enemies of Islam the capacity to make as much money as they want by simply writing checks so that the donkeys in the world accept the checks. You don't have to work anymore to get money. No. In a world filled with donkeys, all you have to do is write checks. You could buy all the oil of Saudi Arabia free of charge. All you have to do is to get paper and pen and write checks. But this is a risk you're taking, because it's a house of cards, it could collapse. Once you had the gold, you had some security. But now the gold is no longer there. So from 1971 to 1973, they're searching for something to keep the house of cards strong.